This is the video lesson for number 10-4. We are going to be talking about measures of central tendency, measures of variability, and their standard deviation. The measures of central tendency are also known as the average. There are three averages in statistics. The first one is the mean, which is represented by mu. The second average is median, and the third is mode. All three of those are measures of central tendencies. Our next one is measures of variability, which talks about how spread apart the data is, and there are three measures of variability as well. They are the range, the interquartile range, and standard deviation, which is represented by sigma right there. Standard deviation indicates how far apart the data is spread and is represented by the Greek letter sigma. And we will always be using the population standard deviation this year in class. You also need to know that the mean in your calculator will be represented by what we call X bar. So when you see X bar in your calculator, that is the mean. Okay, a company pays their employees the following yearly salaries. You're going to add in $72,000, $72,000, $87,000, and $90,000. The first thing we want to do is find the mean, the median, and the mode of these salaries. So when I add up all those numbers, I'm going to get 552,000. And then there are 10 numbers, so I'm going to divide by 10. That gives me a mean of 55,200. The median is the middle number, and that is right between 58,000 and 63,000. So to find the median, I'm going to add those two together. When I do that, I get 121,000. I divide that by 2, and that tells me that the median is 60,500. The mode is the middle number, the mode is the number that occurs the most, and that's going to be 72,000. Okay, it says you are trying to hire a new employee and want to appear like you pay well. Which measure of central tendency will you quote in the advertisement and explain? So if you want to appear like you're going to pay well, you would want to put the mode there in the advertisement, because that's going to make this company appear as that they pay better than they really do. So the mode is the one you're going to want to do because it is the highest average. Okay, now the owner of the company is Scrooge McDuck, and he doesn't want to spend a dime more than he has to. He wants to know how much the employees are being paid. Which measure of central tendency will you tell him? In this situation, we want to appear as we're not paying very much. So here you'd want to tell him the mean. And that's because it is the lowest average. So whenever you are looking at advertisements or studies or anything like that, and they say on average, that doesn't necessarily mean they're talking about the mean. They could also be talking about the mode or the median. Now, if it's a respectable company or respectable firm doing this, they will state whether it is the mean, median, or the mode. But if they just say the average, they could be talking about any one of those three. So you need to be careful when you're looking at different things and they just say, on average, this is what happens. They could be saying it's the median or the mode. And technically they're correct, that doesn't mean, but what is happening is that they're trying to mislead you in that situation. Okay, Kathy earned the following scores on her last 7 math quizzes. So scores that she earned, they were 14, 14, 14, 17, 18, 18, and 20. So those were the 7 scores that she's received on her last 7 math quizzes. And she wants to, her parents want to know, grandparents want to know how well she's doing, and she wants to impress them. So first of all, we need to figure out what is the mean, median, and the mode, so she knows which one to tell them. So the mean. If I add up all these numbers, I'm going to get 115, and 115 divided by 7 is about 16.4. The median is our middle number, which is going to be 17. And the mode is the number that occurs the most, which in this case is 14. So if she's wanting to impress her parents, she's going to tell them the median, because that's the highest score. So she could be saying, well, on average, I get a 17 on all my quizzes. She's not necessarily lying to them, but she is misleading them a little. Okay, let's say that she wants to convince her parents to get her a tutor. So which measure of central tendency would she want to tell them? Well, she wants them to think that she's not doing very well. So in this case, she's going to tell them the mode. That's because it is the lowest average. Okay, we're going to talk about standard deviation now. The first thing we want to do is talk about how to find standard deviation. We're going to walk you through the steps just so you understand where this number comes from. So we're going to find the standard deviation of this list. 1, 3, 4, 5, 7, 7, 10, and 11. And the first step in finding the standard deviation is to find the mean. So we're going to add up all those numbers, and when we do that, we're going to get the number 48. Then we want to divide by how many we have. There are 8 numbers there. So the mean is 6. Now we're going to find the difference between each data point and the mean. So what we're going to do is we're going to find out how far is 1 from 6. So we're going to subtract. So we're going to say 6 minus 1, and that's 5 away. Then 6 minus 3, that's 3 away. 6 minus 4, that's 2 away. 6 minus 5, and that's 1 away. Then we're going to go ahead and say how far is 7 from 6. Well, I'm going to go the other direction so I get positive numbers. So 7 minus 6 is 1 away. 7 minus 6 is 1 away. 10 minus 6, that's 4 away. And 11 minus 6, that is 5 away. So I found how far each data point is from the mean. Okay, I'm going to take all those differences now, and I'm going to square them. So I have 5 squared, which is 25. I have 3 squared, which is 9. 2 squared, which is 4. 1 squared, which is 1. 1 squared, which is 1. 1 squared is 1. Then I have 4 squared, which is 16. And 5 squared, which is 25. So I've squared each difference. Now I'm going to take each one of those, and we're going to find the mean of those numbers now. So we're going to add them all together. So I'm going to take 25 plus 9 plus 4 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 16 plus 25. And when I add all those together, I get 82. Then I divide by how many there are, which are 8, and I get 10.25. The very last step now is to take the square root of this number. So I'm going to take the square root of 10.25. and that is approximately 3.2. And that is the standard deviation. Okay, now you can see the notes down there. It says, wow, that was a lot of work. Fortunately for us, our calculators will do the work. So there's going to be, if you do not have your own calculator that will do this, there is a website that you can go to, and you can put in the data, and it will calculate the standard deviation for you. Okay, now everyone is going to be getting this helpful hints paper that tells us how to find the mean and standard deviation using the TI-30X2S. So that is this calculator right here. If you have a TI-83 plus or a TI-84 plus, these are the directions on how to do it in that calculator. I'm going to go through now and walk you through step by step how to find the standard deviation using the TI-30X2S so you can do your homework. All right, so what we're going to do is, and the great thing about this, it will find both the mean and the standard deviation. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and do this problem right here. And it's easier if you have them in order from least to greatest. So the first thing we need to do is turn on our data button. Okay, to do that, you're going to hit second and then data. So second data, and then you'll hit enter. When you do that, you'll notice the stat will appear right there. That means I'm in stat mode. Okay, so second data, enter. Now, and you have to be in stat mode in order for this to work. Okay, now what we want to do is we want to hit data, and we're going to enter our data. This is what is the first number that I have. My first number is 5. I'm going to put in a 5, and then I'm going to hit my down arrow. And this says, how many 5s do I have? Well, I have 3 of them, so I'm going to change that 1 to a 3. So I don't have to enter each 5 every time. I'm saying I have 3 5s there. Hit the down arrow. What's my next number now? That's a 6. Hit the down arrow. Well, how many of those do I have? I just have 1. Hit the down arrow. My next number is 7, and I only have 1 of those. My next number is 8. I only have 1 of those. My next number is 10, and I have 2 of those, so I'm going to change my frequency to 2. Hit the down arrow. My next number is 12, and I have 4 of those, so I'm going to hit my down arrow and put in a 4. And then we're going to put in 14, and I only have 1 of those. Okay, now what we're going to do is we are going to now press the stat bar button, which is right next to the data button. So I'm going to hit that button right there, and it says calculate. And all of a sudden, all this information shows up. Let me explain what each one of these numbers means. Okay, so our first one is in. That means how many numbers were in the data set? There were 13. Let's go back and verify whether they're really 13. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. If you got a different number there, you did something wrong. So you want to verify the same number of numbers in your data set you put in the calculator. You hit your right arrow, and that is your X bar. That is your mean. So there's your mean right there. Now, this next one, the capital S with the lowercase x, that means sample standard deviation. Sorry, that is, this is your standard deviation. That's the one we're not going to use. Okay, remember we said we're going to use the one that has sigma next to it. So we're going to skip that one and go over to sigma. This is the one that we are going to be using, the population one. Okay, so our standard deviation would be 3.1 if I was to round to the nearest tenth there. If I keep going, that is the sum of all the numbers. So if I was to add up all of these numbers, it would equal 118. This next button you'll never need is just if I take this number 118 and square it, that's what I get right there. That's just saying if I add up all the numbers and square it, that's my number. Okay, 196. So let's go back to what you need. So you need the X bar, that is the mean, and then sigma X. That is our standard deviation we're going to be using. Okay. Next time, in number 10-5, we'll actually be talking about standard deviation and what it is and what it looks like. Today, we're just learning how to find it in the calculator.